Uganda ey'enkya.
What is this system that you are developing?
It's
Paragraph
not.
A.
MOSIP is modular open source identification platform. It is an identification platform that will be customized to NIRA's or Ugandan laws and regulatory framework. The reason that this framework was chosen is that it avoids vendor lock-in, which was a previous challenge of NIRA. Government in a JVA signed in 2028 appointed USPC as the solution provider.
Yes.
Some of us are new to this committee, and when I look at the worship, the CRBS, the NSI,
You want her to shed more light. For example, when you say development of a new NSIS system,
Okay, maybe I'll give
what
a
are you
history.
developing? Because you say you are calling it developing.
No, security information system.
Yes.
It is 10 years since it acquired it. The challenges that system faces are two fundamental ones. Number one, it is out of support. It's at end of life and end of support. In IT, there are two stages. Sometimes they no longer manufacture this phone, but they still support it. However, after a certain number of years, they say, now we are not only not manufacturing it, we are no longer supporting it. So the technologies that we have are at end of life and end of support.
Hence the development of a new one.
Yes, sir. But in addition, the previous system that NIRA had, called the National Security Information System, was vendor locked. And that was a matter that we have presented severally in this committee, which means that when government would add a district, someone from the company that manufactured would have to fly in, add the district, bifurcate, because they did not give Uganda access to the intellectual property to allow us to change it and extend it as is required in the contract that was signed in 2013, 2014. So in order to mitigate that challenge, government adopted what are called open source frameworks that are supplied under what is called Mozilla 2.0 license. What happens in those systems? The basic building blocks of a system are done and made available to the world. Subsequently, anybody who wishes obtains the building blocks that have been built, but then writes them to suit their environment. If I was to use the example of a vehicle, it is like assembling. You assemble, but in so assembling that you develop components. For example, the building block may have said name, age, sex as the form to be filled. But Uganda's form has 148 fields. So you shape that form that was given, which came with that system, to align to your own law. So your master data, some countries have regions, states. Here you align the system to follow your own administrative units. The process and procedures that are embedded in issuance, in enrollment, and in citizenship verification, you align them to your country and your law.
Was that part of the clauses or considerations by the JV?
No, sir, please allow me to to consult on that.
Okay.
So, 88 persons across government agencies were trained.
You can put off the microphone and consult. Feel free.
Because this architecture is available for us to work with, we have started with the customization work. But there are aspects about the system, like kits. We need 5,500 kits to be used in enrollment. We need data center equipment. We need security equipment to secure the data center. We need network equipment. We need desktops for data processing. So there are several other aspects of the system that we don't have, that have to be acquired or procured. With the system, we can start and try to do what can be done to align it to our own laws. But the hardware components, there is nothing much we can do until budget is made available.
Clarification, Chair.
Yes, clarification.
Thank you so much, Chair. Do you intend to transfer the data that you have to this new system?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The process of data migration from the old system to the new system has commenced with data quality testing.
And let me ask you on that. Migration from old to new.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The process of data migration from the old system to the new system has commenced with the data quality testing of 1,000 records, which was assessed at 65%. The second testing of a larger sample of 1 million records will soon commence. A multi-sectoral advisory committee was put in place and formally appointed on 7th November 2022 by the Honorable Minister of Internal Affairs and inaugurated on 2nd December 2022. The objective of the Multi-Sectoral Technical Advisory Task Force is to steer the implementation of the mass enrollment and mass renewal strategy. The task force is comprised of several entities across government, including the underlisted. The task force, which is headed by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Internal Affairs as the chairperson, and the Executive Director of NIRA, commenced its work and has held 7 meetings in this regard. I submit, Chair.
This Committee of Parliament wanted you to update Parliament and update the nation on NIRA's preparedness to hand over a credible data to the Electoral Commission in preparation for 2025-2026 elections. Related to that, but also tell us if there are problems, let this committee know. If there are challenges, if you've been frustrated, let this committee know, let the nation know. It's absolutely important because we said our democratic elections underpin our existence, and so, and we, as Honorable colleague mentioned, Electoral Commission is part of the board. They have put up a roadmap for 2025-2026 elections. For them to be able to deliver a credible, free and fair election, they need to get from you, NILA, credible and authentic data. You came to Parliament and Parliament gave you money for that. That's okay. So where do you find the challenges? Where are the problems? How prepared are you? But we also know that there exists a JV between where a vehicle was created Security Printing Corporation. Am I right? Uganda Security Printing Corporation. Company. Where NIRA has obligations. Because when you talk of migration of data, where do you put that JV? I'm also privy to communications back and forth between you and the Attorney General and the guidance with regards to implementation of the JV. Would you update us on that? Thank you.
I first ask just two quick questions that, Chair. Idi, could you tell us what is vendor locked? What do you mean by vendor locking?
When a system is vendor locked, you do not have access. You have acquired rights to use the system, but not to extend or change it in the absence of the intellectual property owner.
How will you be in position to transfer what you have to the new system when it is vendor locked?
There are three elements to a system that are important to note. There is hardware, there is software, and there is data. I'll give the human body as an example. The software is the brain. The data is the blood. The hardware are our motor function. The software that stores information is the one that determines how we use the system. But the data belongs to Ugandans and is accessible. So there is a certain engine which puts data in a data store, and that engine is not accessible. However, my data and your data and the data of Ugandans is available because it is stored in a data store that is separate from the engine.
Was that the arrangement that the government of Uganda agreed with Mulba, that their system is vendor locked?
That was the system they acquired. That was the contract that they signed, and those are the provisions of the system they acquired.
Okay, and you find problems with it?
Yes, but that contract actually expired in 2019.
Okay, yeah, okay. So that so then the newcomer, the prevailing contract now is what?
There is no prevailing contract in terms of support and maintenance of the old system, but there is a new provider.
Who is that?
That is USPC.
USPC, and their system is not vendor locked.
It is actually not their system. It is an open source system.
Great. So it solved the previous problem.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yeah, Chair, if someone proposes like system upgrade and then acquiring the new system, because you already have a system, if you upgraded it, because in IT, I'm not an IT expert, but I normally hear of system upgrade. Would it have probably helped you as the entity in solving some of these challenges? Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I can now ask others.
Okay.
Then the issue of Chair, I expected that because when we are interacting with this entity, especially in preparation for the mass registration and mass renewals, I expected them to provide the budget and the details, because as a sectoral committee, we are entitled to that. And we need actually to guide where it is possible. Yes, Cabinet could have approved the 666 billion, but we need to know these details. And if the PSST approved He said they approved 370 as a supplementary, I think, which you are waiting for. Yeah, but we need to know the details
Okay.
of this budget. And then lastly, I can see the ED referring to the task force headed by the permanent secretary. Chair, we had some experience on this committee. Wouldn't it be clear if we are furnished with the minutes of this task force?
Maybe the issue is, has the committee, task force committee met, and if they have, how far they have gone? Oh, great. So you need to update the committee on how far they have gone. Thank you. Roadmap, and this is on page, I thought it is of great importance. The project is expected to start was expected to start in June this year as a pilot, and August, which is 2 months back, with the rollout. In order for this to be achieved, a number of pre-project activities like procurement, recruitment, contract, registration, assistance be done on time. However, none has not been done due to absence of funds. So are you telling us now, which straight, that you are not ready for mass enrollment and mass registration in preparation for 2025-2026?
We are not ready. I am saying we are delayed.
Looking at the timetable that you yourself had put out, looking at the timetable that Cabinet had put out, looking at the time frames, today is 26th of October. Today is 26th of October, no budget, no 25th. Yes, 25th of October. No budget, no confirmation, not even approval of a supplementary of a crucial project like this that underpins our democratic credentials. And you think that's not something that the country should get worried about?
Thank you, Chair. That's the reason we beg your indulgence. There are certain aspects of the project, as we have indicated, that have started. As soon as funding is provided, certain aspects, the key aspects of procurement of hardware and integration will begin, what we call bringing together the points we are customizing. The most important thing is for us to get kits and data center hardware equipment. That is on the system side of issues. There is the human side of issues where we need to recruit people who will carry out the enrollment. Because NIRA has been in this exercise over the years, there is a data bank of people who have interacted with us in this process. And because we continually have outreaches where we recruit, if money is available, this exercise of recruitment can be fast-tracked. So in essence,
Who is delaying the process?
money is delaying the process.
That gentleman called Money?
Yes.
Nenyongera okujjukiza nti gwe eyeetaaga of course abagenda okusigira langi mu ggwanga Uganda, ali mu kibuga Kampala, ali eweerwa eggwanga nenga business zo zikolera mu ggwanga Uganda, osobola okwekwata banafa ba Ebenezer Painters basanga mu kibuga Kampala, era basobola okubeera nga basiiga ekizimbe ky'olangi okwetolera eggwanga Uganda wonna. Ojja kubeera ng'owuliziganya n'omukulu Lule Joseph ku namba z'essimu ezo, okubeera nga mukwatagana bulungi nnyo, asiiga ekizimbe kyo langi egenda okusikiriza buli muntu, ekuweesa ekitiibwa, ekizimbe ekikuweesa ekitiibwa olwa appearance saako n'okuwa look oba face, ekizimbe kye kigenda okuteeka bizinensi yo ku mutindo ogw'ensi yonna, beba Ebenezer Painters. Brand Pro Property Services Uganda Limited, omukulu Ivan yantegeezezza nti mwabali e Dubai, yes, estate sales zolaba butereevu nnyo, ziri available. Osobola okubeera nga naawe alinamu ku ssente oba ng'oyagala lyeso ogenda maaso okukolera emirimu gyo eweeru w'eggwanga naye mu Dubai n'ensi endala nga UK, USA saako ne India sofa osobola okubeera nga ofuna ennyumba yes saako n'ebintu ebigwa mu kkowe erya real estate mu ggwanga Uganda osobola ofuna ploti oba ettaka wonaakolera emirimu gyo business oba okulima oba okulunda n'ebirala byonna era ojja kubeera nga obeekwata Brand Property Services Uganda Limited na buli kimu ekyekuusa ku nsonga ez'ettaka ojja kubeera nga obeekwata weetaaga mu surveyor weetaaga ki buli kalonda yenna agwa mu kowe erya real estate ojja kubeera nga beekwata Brand Property Services Uganda Limited.
Money is delaying the process, and so in essence that is the critical challenge that the organization
as you look at your answers, let's have colleagues who joined us later introduce themselves as you look at your notes. Honorable colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. My name is Wakoli Godfrey, and I represent the people of Tiru County, Manafa District, and a member of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
There was a question on system upgrade, and I would like to respond to that. I mentioned in my introduction that the system is at end of life and end of support. And in part of our procurements, we are going to maintain the personalization equipment and upgrade it to continue using it in the printing of cards. A software system is made up of components, and I'll give a simple example. One of them is Windows 98. A core part of the operating system of the old system is Windows 98. It is at end of life and end of support. When a system is put at end of support, even its security patches are no longer taken care of. Therefore, the cost of upgrade in terms of not just money, but security risk is damning. The details of the budget will be provided again in our submission of our budget and work plan last year. We provided them, but we shall provide them again with a full detail of breakdown, and they will be submitted by tomorrow. The minutes of the task force will also be submitted tomorrow. Thank you.
Honorable, yes, Honorable Napos.
Thank you, Chair. According to the submission of the ED, I'm also sensing a risk, and the ED should respond to this. When you follow the submission she has given, it seems when the government provides funds, perhaps by next year, we want to get a commitment from the ED. Won't it be again too late? That following this exercise, you need recruitment, you need people to train, you need all those gymnastics that surround this exercise. Won't it still be too late for you, even if you have funds, that you can't do anything better than you have been having because of time insufficiency?
In IT terms, NERA is described as a brownfield, meaning it has technologies and has carried out this exercise severally before. Therefore, the training that would be required would not be required. It's not from scratch. We are not training people. In 2013-2014, they were training people to use a system of identification and biometric identification for the first time. But NERA has been using a system for biometric identification for the last 10 years, which means that there is innate experience gained across those 10 years. So the training will be in the new technologies or the newer technologies that will be acquired. It's like saying I've bought a Mercedes-Benz, you can drive. The new technologies are going to be supplied by USPC. Yes. although they do not own them. I need to be very clear on that.
Thank you, Chair. The ED has actually answered the question put across by the Honorable Napoth. But I also want to inform you that what you are telling us is that in 2013, people were interfacing with the new software or the system. But you also realize that you do not have that staff which worked in the mass enrollment of 2014. There are people who have moved on. Some of us were your staffs as core enrollment officers. Now I'm a member of parliament. So when you tell us, he has asked that even when you get money, this period is going to be short for you to recruit and train. And I can confirm to you that you are going to have people who do not know how to operate this machine. Chair, what happened in 2014 is that the NERA, by then they were recruiting through the Office of District Registration, returning officer. And I can confirm to this committee that the people who were recruited at that time were people who did not know, who did not have even knowledge in the IT. People were recruiting their own relatives. People were recruiting people because they have given in something. So I want the ED to. No, I was not recruited like that. I was recruited because of the competence I had. So, Chair, even when the ED wants to give this committee assurance that what happened will not happen, I want to tell you that this process, as it is delayed like this, you are going to face the similar challenge because we are talking about mass renewal. We are talking about mass renewal, meaning you are going to require many enrollment officers, just as you had in 2014. So don't tell us, be factual, don't tell us that you will not have the same problems. And you know, technology is just growing in Uganda. Not many people know how to operate these gadgets.
Thank you, Chair. I want to join my colleagues in thanking ED for the presentation. I'm just continuing from where my colleagues stopped. What is going to happen to the new districts where you don't have offices? Where will you get that staff? And two, we are talking about money. You have been complaining about money. Who is responsible of demotivating the police, the security officers who are guarding your offices? Who is responsible of that? Because I know they are already in the system and they are supposed to be paid. But there is always delay in their payments by 4 months, by 5 months. Who's responsible of that? Thank you.
Honorable Sepi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Madam ED. Mine is a clarification I would like to get from number 1, registered persons, 26.9 million, and is the number 3, mass renewal target of 15.8. I would like to get the clarification. Then on top of that, Madam ED, I would like to tell this committee, through you, Honorable Chair, that in my district, during 2013, there was a lot of corruption in my constituency, from, say, Congo, and once that person has money, pays the money, and he gets the identity card. And the native who has been here all along does not get it. So, Madam ED, I would like to get an assurance that when you start this exercise, our people who have been here for quite a long time will get the national identity cards. And on top of that, you are talking about the other thing, the new system, the what. But do you have any other features that you want to improve on these IDs so that you can get this information today? Thank you.
Thank you. This Honorable Engineer Alex.
From information given to us, it is indicated that they were supposed to start in June.
Yes.
2023. And that's according to NERA's work plan. So there is no doubt that,
which was also approved by Cabinet.
By Cabinet. There is no doubt that as time progresses, you will definitely be in trouble. You will not be ready for the mass enrollment. So I would want you to tell us when are you raising a red flag? We should know that if we go past this month, then it will be hell for us. So that the government gets to know that if they don't provide the money, then the issue is not theirs.
Yes.
The issue will be a government problem. So that one you need to tell us when you have to raise a red flag. So you say, beyond this point, please, if anything happens, don't count it on us. Thank you, Chair.
And that is the very reason why I had earlier on requested the PSST, the Minister of Justice, officials of the Electoral Commission,
All stakeholders.
to be here to handle this issue once and for all, than for her to start pointing fingers when they are not here. And it is good if we are to assist this country for all these stakeholders to be here, and we know that at least we have handled this issue, and we are only waiting for the results. Now, on the presentation made by ED, specifically on item number 3, these IDs are meant for 10 years, and they are due. The first ID is going to expire in August next year, and there is no funds as of now. According to Section 7, Regulation 23, Regulation 23 of the NEA regulations, if you are to renew, you have to renew you have to apply within 2 years, within 2 months. And as things are moving, you can only expect to get money from maybe June or July. How do you expect to handle this issue? Are you going to amend the law specifically because you are out of time, because PSSD did not do what you were supposed to do? How are you going to handle this? Because people are going to be without national IDs. They are going to be expiring between June and August. They will be expiring. How are you going to handle that?
Thank you, Honorable Abdul.
Lastly, Chair,
Yes.
Chair, on this on the issue of which she presented about specifically about the data migration. When you look at the because they are saying that they have assessed it at 65%. Where are you leaving the 35? We expect it to be at least 99, 98. Don't you think that you are losing? It is a big percentage which you are losing and not catered for here. And why is it like that? And the very last one, Honorable Chair. Up to now, there is registration which is ongoing. And people, first of all, they are not getting IDs. And you are migrating. I don't know how you are handling. You are not issuing, you are registering people under the new regime, the old regime, no IDs being issued, and you are migrating. I don't know whether you are getting what I'm talking about. How are you going to handle that situation?
Honorable Christine.
Thank you, Chair.
Then
Yes.
we give her a chance to respond.
I am well aware that your offices up-country are understaffed. One requirement to qualify for PDM money is to have an ID. What are you doing to help these Ugandans access this money?
To help the implementation of the PDM, since the requirement is you must have a national ID.
Whenever we are processing the ministerial policy statements, we are processing the budget framework money to implement the projects that we intend to implement as government. But Chair, I think that we should also, and our agency should also exercise frugality. We need to be frugal on how we spend the little that we have. Chair, I want to know from MD, because I've had data, migration. Moroboa, as a company, was contracted to provide the software for mass enrollment. But in the conversation when I listen, it's like now we have now thrown away the company which even has the capability to upgrade their IT, has been overthrown, and we seem to be introducing just a new service provider on board. This comes with a cost, Chair. I want the ED to tell this committee whether Murubwa did not have the capacity to continue with the service, continue providing services to Ugandans in regards to ID. Because, Chair, their system, I'm aware, is not vendor locked. It can be upgraded to serve even in this period. That's what I just want.
Thank you. Although, I think before you came in, Honorable, it's now your chance. You remember there was another question to you.
I will start with the issue of vendor. Where is vendor?
Okay.
Uganda does not own the intellectual property to extend it. And I would submit the contract for avoidance of doubts. Rather than for us to debate it, I propose that we submit the contract. But that notwithstanding, experts can come and try to extend it for avoidance of doubts.
Okay. Go on.
Chair, can we have the two contracts?
Which one?
Absolutely.
And which
The new one and the old one,
Of
for
what?
comparison.
Absolutely.
one? Okay.
Yes.
She has offered to submit.
Both contracts will be, the USPC will be given, and also the mobile contract
The
will be given.
USPC is a joint venture, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Now that you are on that, why don't you handle it with the status of implementation?
I
since they are
request
on it?
that I follow the order of the questions because
Okay.
I'll get a bit confused.
Okay.
The experience of the Honorable Member of Parliament who was an... Why? There is a software you attach to the kit. If you remove it, that kit is useless.
But, Chair,
No. She has please, go on.
But that said, we have experts in the Ministry of ICT. They can come and check whether it works or not. And we have presented this severally to this committee, year in, year out. It's on the handset. There was a question on 2013-2014 corruption and members coming from Congo. The process of enrolling a Ugandan starts with an LC1 who acknowledges on a form that that person is resident and they are confident of the information that they have seen. The second step, that form is approved by GISO or DISO of the area. So, all I can say concerning this issue is that a lot of effort will be taken to ensure that there is cohesion among all the entities involved, and we shall beg the indulgence of the MPs in these areas to ensure that this citizenship of Uganda is not abused. That one is not something that NERA can do on its own. As part of that process of enrollment, we have provided within the roadmap a position where our enrollment officers will be seated, a place for LC1, LC2, LC3, police, GISO, such that they are present on the enrollment grounds. And even after vetting documents, if anyone is in doubt, the people will be present to say, no, that one is a Ugandan, or that one is not a Ugandan. Furthermore, sensitization is beginning on the types of citizenship in Uganda. Citizenship by descent, citizenship by naturalization, and the different types of citizenship we have. So that even the masses can join us in identifying who is a Ugandan. So I thank you for highlighting that issue, but it is an issue that each of us has a part to play.
Correct.
There was a question on new features. There are two important new features for us to add, to note.
Excuse me, can you first sort yourself out?
In terms of biometric features, we are adding the iris. In terms of security features on the card, there are about 6 new security features on the card,
And
the documentation can be provided. If you'll allow me to get my laptop, I can read them all for you. To take care of the persons living with disability, we have added what is called tactileness on the knee to enable them to feel where their certain features are. In terms of use and function, this time we will have, in addition to your physical ID, a digital ID. There was a question on the red flag. We will raise a red flag on January 31st, 2024.
I request that you restate this. From the beginning, the intention of having you here was to update Parliament and thereafter update the nation on readiness, preparedness of NIRA with regards to giving authentic data to Electoral Commission that has put out a roadmap. And you are here telling us there is no money, and that's not your fault. So the question from the member was that at what point are you? So I want you to restate it, and then we see what should follow.
Okay. There are loud alarms even now as I speak.
And that's what we call you here.
There is a crisis even now as I speak. But what I mean by January 31st, 2024, is that if money has not been made available, it will be near to impossible to acquire certain aspects of the hardware. So government will have to resort to a plan B.
Have you, before you
No,
go
excuse
on
me,
that,
she has a chance. Let her continue.
have you
Honorable Chiwanuka.
no, specifically on that one.
Honorable Chiwanuka, we gave her a chance. After that, you will.
No, specifically on that. Has she...
Honorable
invited
Chiwanuka, put off your microphone. Please go on.
We have had several engagements with PSST,
Yes,
but I'll return to that question at the end. Allow me to
continue.
Requires one to apply for renewal 2 months before expiry.
Yes.
Now, if people are not able to apply for renewal, what is government going to do? One, the entity is taking every effort to ensure that people can apply for renewal.
These entities are?
This is NIRA, from a software perspective. In the event that application for renewal cannot happen, there are certain fundamental truths that do not change. Fundamental truth number one, your NIN does not expire. The NIN of the 26.9 million persons does not expire. So their NIN is still valid. It's their card that is not valid, for avoidance of doubt. So we are renewing the card, but not the NIN. So for purposes of Electoral Commission, the NIN of 26.9 million people will be available and ready. However, for the 17.2 million, of which 50% may be eligible for voting, government will take measures to enroll the 9 million. data migration. There was a question on assessment and 65%. We picked 1,000 fingerprints to test the quality of those fingerprints against the ISO standard that governs fingerprints. In some cases, we got 90%, some 100, but generally we did an average and we got 65%. The scope has been widened to 1 million fingerprints because there are 350 million fingerprints. So 1,000 is not a sufficient sample space for us to make a decision on what is the quality of the fingerprint data that we have. After we have assessed at least 10% of the data, we shall give a report on the quality of data, notwithstanding. In the exercise that the mass enrollment and mass renewal exercise, biometrics will be taken afresh for each and every person, and the two sets of biometrics will be collated and compared. So there is no risk in us losing biometric information. We are seeking to strengthen the biometric information that is available. There was a question on we are registering, IDs are not coming out, and we are migrating. As soon as as soon as funds are available and we are ready to go to a go-live environment, decisions will be made to stop and process all existing data in essence, to stop receiving data. Data will only be taken in a certain state to the new system, meaning there will be a cutoff date. It is too soon to discuss that cutoff date, but the cutoff date will give a window of maximum 2 weeks, so that persons can continue to get the service. I seek your protection, Chair. So we are issuing the cards, except our machines in June broke down up to today.
So since June up to today, NIRA has not been issuing cards. Is that right?
It's not correct to say we've not issued any card. I just didn't want to get into the semantics, but the issuance has slowed down.
Okay. Yes. Continue. Let her finish, then we.
Specifically, when you look at what she has said, they have registered 26 million and only issued 16 million. You can see the gap.
So 10.
And they are still registering up to now. So people out there blind, they need to get passports, they can't get them. So what is the problem?
For the month of August, we issued 46,000 cards. For the September, we issued 52 million cards.
No.
Sorry, 52,000 cards. And for the month of October, we have issued 38,000 cards. Allow me, guys, please,
Okay,
honorables.
you have a microphone, so.
The law says that cards are issued to persons above 16 years. Above 16 years.
But registration?
Registration and NINs are issued to everybody. But cards are issued to persons above 16 years of age.
Yeah, but Chair, that does not answer Honorable
It doesn't, actually. Clarification?
You see, issuing of cards is different from registering, printing, and issue. She could be issuing cards which were previously printed because she was not very committal whether the machine broke down to death.
And feel free, your director IT or anybody can answer, of course, through you.
Chair, and the chair said, I think I was a bit confused when she told this committee that the machine broke down. She needed to differentiate which machine broke down. Was it a production machine? Because the issuance is just done, you have the laptop.
Let's have clarified then. Thank you.
152 cards were printed in June, it's in July. 99,574 were printed in August.
Chair, that is because herself has just told this committee that they stopped printing in June when the machine broke down.
I'm sorry, honorable members. It's because before I finish a sentence, there is an interruption.
Okay, can
and
you
before I can say the next phrase, there is an interruption.
Look here,
Therefore,
Honorable Edie, answer the questions as they are given to you until I give permission to someone. They are not on record. You are on record. Okay, so answer.
In June, the printing machine broke down, which slowed down. And I mentioned and said, it's not that we've stopped printing, it's just that the printing has been slowed down. In a good month, we can print up to 200,000 cards. The capacity of those machines is 200,000 cards a day. A day when they are at 100%. But now for a month, we are doing 67,000. So there is a problem with the machine.
Go on, you're on record. So forget, just...
The 4 machines, when at full capacity, together in cohesion, they can print more cards than that. So in essence, in a month, we should be printing about 2 million cards.
But you are not?
Yes.
Okay,
if cards were at full capacity. Therefore, that is what I mean by saying that the printing is, I have read to date in this financial year, we have printed 342,441 cards. And we have issued 161,256 cards. There was a question on understaffing and the PDM.
Yes.
We are currently working with the PDM teams, and we have given specific enrollment officials to the teams to assist those who don't have national IDs to enroll, and then we fast track their generation of a NIN. Thank you.
Are you done? Okay. Before, just one, and then I give a chance. Edie, you said, and I'm quoting you, the NIN does not expire. The card expires. But you cannot hold a NIN without a card. Excuse me. So the cards we have NINs that don't expire. But cards expire. Does this make sense at all?
The card is a representation of your information, selected information on the database. One of those features on that card is the NIN. The reason the card expires is because your biometric features change. They change. So we need to keep up to date with your biometric features. But that doesn't change your mother and father on Form 3, which is information we hold. To strengthen the point, for the under 16s, they have a NIN, but they don't have a card. But their NIN is valid as those who are above 16 and hold a card.
Thank you.
Yeah, but Chair. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's many reasons.
Let's not forget the set of questions we had given her.
Yeah.
She hadn't finished. No. No, there was a question, I remember correctly, on the status of implementation of the JV. That one.
As we had previously presented to this committee, we were supposed to start the purchase of cards in 2021, 2022, 0.5 million cards, which means to date we are supposed to have purchased from the JVA 14.5 million cards. And yet the production and personalization equipment was performing at under 10%. And we had a stock of 2.6 million cards. So it did not make sense to purchase additional cards when, one, we are going to change the features on the cards, two, the production and personalization machines equipment throughput has deteriorated. So in the budget for mass enrollment is 183 billion to purchase the cards that we should have purchased in this period. To that extent, we are in arrears. But as soon as the money is released, a portion of it, depending on the release, will be made for the purchase of cards.
No,
Yes, it is.
Chair, I just want to pose a question, and I want the ED to state it clearly. Did you in any way place any order to JV, to UCP, Uganda, USPC, just before you proceed? Did you make it? Because you are talking about areas, did you really make any order?
And our visitor is protected. We ask very good questions and she gives us good answers. So feel free, you are protected. Okay. The specific two questions were that, was that in breach of the JV? Your answer was a straight yes. The other one was, what are the implications? He continued, did you actually place an order? Go on.
A call of order, in keeping with the PPDA Act, must be made when there is funding confirmed. No funding was made available to the entity in the last 4 years for the purchase of cards.
What are the implications of,
As such,
of breaching?
We have not made a call off.
Okay. What are the implications of you breaching the JV? That is her to answer.
My understanding is that
no,
there was
Honorable
procurement
Kahonda.
done.
Oh, she just one and then ED.
Yes, we had several meetings with USPC, and we got an addendum, and that is how the breach was tentatively dealt with. There are no financial implications to the breach.
Then what about the areas you have just talked about?
No, the 183 is for 24 million cards that we must purchase as per year. So we are buying 14.5 million plus an additional 9 million for the population of Uganda who will be above 16 to cater for that. That is the 183 billion. But in terms of the areas relate to the 14.5 million whose orders have not been made.
Thank you. Okay, just honorable colleagues, something very interesting. On 9th July 2021, the Executive Director, Rosemary Kisembo, wrote to the Attorney General a letter request for guidance on maintenance and support services for the identification system. And the learned Attorney General responded on the 14th July 2021. Warning her of the breach. And that's why I asked that question. So the consequences for the breach of the JV implications are that certainly government is going to cough.
The letter I wrote on 9th July 2021 related to support and maintenance of the mole power system by USPC.
Yes.
Because of the vendor locking, or because of the intellectual property of the system of mole power, we were highlighting to the Attorney General that it is not possible for another party to maintain software to which they do not have intellectual property. Oracle cannot support and maintain Windows because they do not own the intellectual property of Windows. For Jeep to maintain Benz, they must be a back-to-back agreement.
That's true.
So we were highlighting to the Attorney General that we are out of support and maintenance. The costs that we are receiving from USPC for the maintenance of somebody else's systems are very high. So, can we allow a window for the old owner of the intellectual property to maintain their system? And he said, no, it will be in breach of the JVA.
Okay. Honorable colleagues, I think, yes, please.
Thank you for this opportunity. First of all, my apologies for coming a bit late. I had some things I was sorting, an emergency.
Coming from Kanyumu now.
No, not from the, I had emergency.
Thank you.
District. I have a bit two questions. One, I needed first I thank you a few years that you've been there in the office. But I wanted to know from you, based on the fact that you have a challenge on the issue of staff, what is your current standing on the wage bill? Do you have any gaps in terms of funding the wage bill? Or do you have money that actually may end up being returned because of failure to recruit? Just I want to know what are the balances whenever you are paying. Then the balance that remains. Now, secondly, and this is what I believe, among other things that you have just highlighted that are causing you challenges in NIRA, besides the funding element, there is an element which you know yourself, but you're not able to reveal. But I want to help you reveal it. This ED is faced with challenges within our staff of clicks that have affected her performance. That's why I wanted also if we had but that came in late. We would have wanted the board. Yeah, but there are staff that defy ED's instructions. That ED can give instructions. There are people who have grown beyond the system. Directors.
She's not complaining about that.
She's not complaining. That's why we needed the board.
Maybe
because
she solved it yesterday.
It is not solved. If it had been solved, we would not be having these challenges on the wage bill.
Raise your question.
Yes. And my question, therefore, is, I know, according to Machiavelli, if you want to take advantage of a given situation, you need to artificially create a crisis. So in this case, aware that all the citizens of this country will require IDs for elections, and you know that it's something as a must. Isn't it possible that NIRA is basically in connivance, I should say, with others, are deliberately trying to create a crisis by delaying what you already know must take place, so that at the last minute, when resources is sent, we are now operating in a crisis with even no clear following of the procurement rules.
Honorable Polot, she ably answered that.
Of the crisis?
Absolutely. And made sure she...
Maybe my apologies,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I wasn't there. But maybe let me leave
Thank you,
that.
thank
But
you.
let her just answer those.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll two more, Honorable Katabazi, and introduce yourself.
Another committee. My questions, I don't know whether they were tackled, but I found her trying to answer the issue of the expire of national IDs. And I think we could benchmark in nearby countries like Kenya, where they don't have to issue another ID, because a national ID, how does it expire? Because they only, with the digitalization, this is a new era of digitalization. There is a way you can update some of the information, but it's very, very dangerous to say that my ID in 2025 will have expired. So I don't know, and they're spending that much money to print new IDs with a new lot of new entrants who are filling in for the first time. I think it's a very risky venture, which would have been easily handled with embracing technology, which is simply updating, but not expired. How can an ID expire? Really? I think there is something fun about that. Okay. Madam Idi, let us be very cautious about that, and it might cause us a very big problem, most especially when it comes to elections and all these other things, because the ID now is almost everything.
Thank you.
And the NIN numbers are on our passports, so since it doesn't expire, like you say, the NIN number doesn't expire, right? So that means I could say my ID would still be okay.
Thank you, Honorable Katabazi. Honorable Kahonda, then we give a chance to Honorable Olanya, and we conclude.
Of the IDs, probably, yes, she has able explained that, but since we are noting it as a challenge, with the new system, is it going to be the same? Because ideally, I think it would be. Yes, ideally, I think in case of any other need for update, it should just be a walk-in process. You go there and update. Probably if your ID expires, then you just walk in and update, not just making it another tedious exercise that requires heavy investment. And the ED explained, told this committee that in an event where the government fails to get the money by next year, yes, by 31st, even at the expire of these IDs, then that means you can still go ahead from explanation and use those IDs. We are aware that there are so many reasons as to why we require these IDs. Opening up of bank accounts, standing sureties, it is a travel document in some of the countries. But really, I can't imagine where you are asked to present yourself and then you present an expiry ID, especially to the courts of law. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, the issue of support and maintenance. You see, under the joint venture agreement, it is supposed to be USPC, but it has not come into force because of budget issues.
Into force?
The joint venture agreement, because of the budget constraints, the budget challenges. And that's why the executive director of NIRA was requesting the Attorney General probably to put a window of allowing the former vendor to maintain and service. And you see, she has said that the cost of maintenance, the quotation by USPC, the cost was very high. We noticed this, Mr. Chairman, when we visited as a committee, when we visited the USPC at Entebbe, and when we were discussing with them their financial model and their modes of operations. The ED Ebre explained to the committee that for them, actually it is a government entity where they don't have a budget even to pay the employees. They are brokers, because he said what they do, they get orders from the entities like immigration. NIRA is supposed also to be part of it, one of the customers and others. Then they go and source the providers, and then what remains as a balance is what they take as operations to fund their operations. Mr. Chairman, I think, and on this note, you are my chairman. I want to put you on notice that I actually intend to move a motion urging government to review this joint venture agreement. And lastly, is on what Madam ED has just told us about the cost of upgrading being too high vis-a-vis procuring the new system. I don't know, she has not been specific. Maybe when we get into the details of the budget, that's when we shall handle this and guide. But I would think that maintaining and supporting the existing, I don't know, we have lawyers, but if that window could be there, probably to give like a short contract, such that we help our Ugandans to continue getting the IDs. Because when she said that the machine broke down in June, but again she said it slowed down the process, then that is not blockage, that is just maintenance, lack of maintenance. And this is where we need to come in and help the country, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Gilbert. Then, yes, chance. Then we'll hear from the ED.
We are trying to finalize our PAC report to be presented before Parliament. I want to be specific. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank the official from NERA. At least you have been trying your best for Ugandans to acquire a national identity card. We are happy for that. But there are some few challenges that you need to rectify. We are getting our national identity card very freely. If you go to my district borders South Sudan, we have so many South Sudanese who have acquired the national ID from you, the NERA people. I do not know if you take due diligence to find out the origin of the person before you give the national identity card. So many foreigners are freely accessing Uganda national identity card. So I would like to find out what you are doing exactly to curb that problem. And two, the money you are requesting for, about 666 billion. And as you explained before my coming, assuming we fail to get this money, look at the economy of this country currently. I know we are not doing well as a country. If you fail to get this money, is there another way that you will enroll Ugandans to the new features of identity card that you want to? Because the way I look at it, the economy is not doing well. And finally, from your office, various offices along the country, the enrollment is going on. The recruitment, the registration is going on every now and then. I would like to find out what are the features you are giving to the new identity card. Because the current identity card is soon expiring. Like mine is expiring in 2020. It's 2024. So now, those on whom you are registering them today, and tomorrow you are still registering people. what features are you putting into that? Are you giving the new identity card you are talking about? Or what expiring date are you putting in those identity cards? Thank you.
Honorable Ajat, you can introduce yourself, please, because you are an honorable member of this committee. She's protected. Thank you. Oh, okay, now we give a chance to Rosemary Kisembo, the ED, to respond and give your last remarks. Okay, Honorable General Relu.
Before she gives the last remark, my question. You said by 31st January, if nothing is done, nothing will be possible. Are you willing to resign by 31st January?
Oh, the General Relu is protected. Why don't you give him a chance, Chiwanuka? That was a brilliant question. Over to you.
Expiry of national IDs.
Okay, the ED is responding to your concerns and questions. Thank you.
National IDs expiring and advancement of technology to digital IDs. National IDs expiring is a matter of law and also a matter of science, and I will explain both. This committee can lead and say, let us remove expiry date. And address the update of biometrics through the normal processes. And say maybe every 5 years, update your biometrics. However, there are aspects about our neighbors that we have not, that we are still working towards as a nation. A digital ID is verifiable only with smartphones. The penetration of smartphones in Uganda is not yet 100%. Therefore, by saying we go only the digital ID route, you are excluding some citizens from having their identity verified. Secondly, it relies on certain data in an internet penetration. We are still at about 54% for internet penetration and several other factors. So yes, there will be a day in this nation when a card doesn't expire. But that will move in tandem with the developments around the ecosystems that support digital IDs. It will be foolhardy for us not to expire cards or not to have that continuous assessment when we are still at the level of penetration of the supporting ecosystem where we are. So, this committee has the right and the power and the ability to effectively address the expiry of the national ID. There was a question on the cost of upgrade. There are terms that are being used loosely that I need to clarify. There is maintenance and support. There is upgrade. Maintenance and support is not upgrade. To maintain and support, you do not change existing technology. You simply optimize its performance. In an upgrade of technology, you change technology, or you take it levels up, for lack of a better word. If you had Windows 98, you move to Windows 11, and so forth and so on. The question of whether we would upgrade the current system as is was overtaken by events in 2019 when the contract expired.
But Chair, on that one, would there be a provision for upgrade in case? Would there be a provision in case of emergency, assuming that we had not entered into that agreement? Would there be a provision of upgrading this system for better performance?
Sadly, the assumption does not hold. We entered into a JVA. Honorable Member, just before you came, I had highlighted to this committee the one chairman. Is subsequently approved by ADISO and is only submitted to NERA for capture and enrollment based on the strength of the documents that are attested to by the LC1 chairman and the DISO/GISO. That does not mean that we should not solve the problem. I highlighted to this committee that to solve this problem is a unified effort of several stakeholders. Government has undertaken to create citizen verification committees at district level during this mass enrollment exercise to allow the filtering of anybody's citizenship who will be in question. So there is a certain sensitization and mobilization of our communities that we must do. One, to flag those who got cards and are not, because there's a process of cancellation. Two, to filter or to go through a process of further validation for those for whom we are in doubt. There was a question on assuming the red flag goes up. Will I resign? If so required by government, I would. That is true. That is true. My resignation would also account for so many others who have failed to deliver on their mandate to make funds available.
I agree. Although that is outside your question. Thank you.
However, I must say that this country has registered people before in a period of 8 months. 16.2 million persons.
In 8 months?
In 8 months, in the last exercise. It was an 8-month exercise. It has risks, there's no doubt. It has challenges, there is no doubt. Anything that does not have problems would not be relevant, because we are relevant to solve problems. As such, there will be workarounds, and government will deliver on its mandate to provide a register to the Electoral Commission by September 30th, 2024. On the question of clickism, I don't want to give it the attention, the undue attention that it does not deserve. As part of the execution of our roles, there is conflict. There is agreement, there is disagreement, and there is moving forward. Everywhere. As such, incidents that happen within us are handled internally and are not yet at the point of raising alarm. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
In the submission that we made, our current wage bill is 20.3 billion. It is true, in the last 2 or 3 years, we have returned part of the wage bill. But this is because of the moratorium that was placed on all entities to hold recruitment until the rationalization process was completed. The current structure of the organization is still at 865, and we only have 421 persons in structure. So we are operating at less than 50%. But to say that we recruit everybody today, there has to be a matching wage bill. In the absence of that, we will still continue to recruit, to operate at the money I've made available through the wage bill. The wage bill makes available, I think, monies for about 450 staff. So the balance in recruitment is ongoing currently after the lifting of the moratorium on recruitment.
Chair, clarification.
Honorable colleagues, the point, just the position we took was that this is not the first and last.
I remember Nira came to this very committee. Honorable Kwawakuri was a member, Honorable Tubo, and some other members were members of the committee. When we provided the additional budget for wage bill, and I remember the ED and the team convinced this committee, we posed the question whether they had been cleared by public service. I think you were even in this very committee, this very room, and she told the committee members that public service had cleared them, and now she's saying public service had put a ban. So which should we take?
Thank you. Then last one.
By events when the contract for Muruboa expired in 2019. Chair, I want to request and I plead with you as the leader of this committee and the members that we need to get to the gist of the, because what motivated NIRA or government to shift from the previous service provider, yet it was just going to be basically to upgrade the technology and serve Uganda. It was going to be cheaper. So we need to reinterest ourselves. Why did they now shift into a joint venture? And you go, and it's going to be more expensive. And it's a problem.
Thank you. So then give her a chance to respond. Then we, okay. Oh, Honorable Sauda.
Chair, I also have one. I think it's in line with Honorable Wakoli's that we are looking at having a cheaper ID. Yes, they contracted another company. Yes, there is a company that started its software. If we want to have cheaper things, then why would we maybe continue with that? Then,
no, you are protected.
Then, if you're upgrading, like if you're looking at maybe adding some other features on the ID, or maybe like the iris, are they looking at it, or because I came in?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Please conclude.
Biometric, they're digital, and there are several. I can give them in the subsequent written submissions.
Please.
To upgrade a software to which we do not own intellectual property continues to make this nation a slave in intellectual property. The reason we are going for an open source software is to begin the journey of digital sovereignty. We cannot always be owned and controlled by other countries.
You see, ED, I like the confidence with which you are exhuming But Chair, I want to tell you, before becoming the chair of this committee, we had a chance to interact with the Murugoa, and the chair, they told this committee that they were willing to do anything that government wanted them to do. But they do not know why government went ahead to not to renew their contract. And in fact, they say the people government has given a job are not having the expert, they do not have the capacity, and they are clients.
Okay.
And we met them.
Yeah, to
On
add on maybe
record,
from there, just
please
for
let me give you
information.
some facts. Mulbawa pulled out of NIRA before their contract expired. It is on record.
By who?
They pulled out. There was a delay in payment and they suspended services.
No. Your statement, were they pulled out or
No,
they
they
pulled out?
pulled out. They pulled out.
Okay.
Before the contract expiry was just a circumstance. They had suspended all maintenance and support in 2019, even before I went to NIRA. They had suspended it. Government had made several commitments to that end, but they said until the effect of their contract expiring was a happening that was right within, they were still on the negotiating table and they walked out.
Information, and now they are here. Why are they being denied? Then another thing, Chair, information. If we want like sovereignty, we don't want any other country like to take over us. Then we have to get support from other countries. Can Uganda do like the technology on its own? Of course we cannot.
Okay, can we?
The open source I think on technology, but not on vendors. Technology has components. There are software components, there are hardware components, there is data. Uganda can build to some extent and has built many solutions internally, including EGP, for example. So there are several aspects of technology that otherwise we are rendering our universities redundant. Why are they taking out students if we are not going to use them? So we are saying in this house that keep people here from other countries.
Ede, you sit at the helm of a data bank of a whole nation.
Yes.
You're also, from your profile, an IT professional and expatriate.
Yes.
Have you advised government accordingly?
Yes, and
Put
government.
it in writing.
Yes, and government has taken the decision to start the journey to digital sovereignty by customizing open source technologies.
Which is?
MOSIP, which is what we have written in the paper.
Okay.
Now,
and which runs contrary to JVA?
No, MOSIP they actually have a contract with MOSIP.
Okay.
The vendor has a contract with MOSIP.
Okay.
But I think we need a meeting whereby we first understand.
Go on. Go where you have reached. Go on and conclude.
Yes.
Yes.
What she's talking about actually was about to put it to her. Previously, when such issues were comment about what is happening. When we have to copy this is a list. I want to put you on board. This is happening. You may not be in the know. When were you expecting to do that? If you have done something.
Conclude.
So, in essence, contract. The data is Ugandans to that. It's your biometrics, your face, your fingerprints. That said, I'll make my closing remarks. The risk to the mass enrollment project is not a secret.
Thank you.
However, all is not lost. Based on past experience of this country and based on the technology availability and easiness that can be done as soon as funds are made available. Thank you.
As soon as funds made available. Honorable colleague.
Over this, the JVA.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've been very keen to ask. Mr. Chairman, as a country, we are sensing a danger. As a country, we are smelling a rat, and we are sensing a danger. As far as this project is concerned, that the ED and the team, you have to put Uganda first in whatever you are doing for this country. Look at the country, put at Uganda first, and you do exactly what is needed for Ugandans. I know this money you are requesting for, the 666 billion. I am telling you, with the current situation we have in this country, the money which will be used, it will go to be less than 200 billion. The rest for kickback, giving to who, let us put Uganda first in our heart. We are following very keenly. Good enough that we belong to this committee, and we shall follow. Thank you.
Thank you to this invitation and for responses. Let me do the, for all the questions that you have noted, including the team, that we must stop this country from going into a crisis. Said from the beginning that elections are the 2026, a bedrock of our democratic credentials. And the president has made it clear before that they will have to be on a biometric system. And the biometric system is based on a data owned by NIRA. So we have to help both NIRA and the country to make sure we don't go to the red flag. I thank you. I'll ask Honorable Tubo to see off the visitors. And honorable colleagues, I thank you so much. Wait for communication. Meeting is adjourned to next week.
Uganda y'enkya